Hi, why am I 79 years old and still speaking about the earth? I'm always talking about the earth all the time. I mean, oh, here it's very hard to see. I'm going to turn it a little bit in the sunshine. Maybe you can see it. It's a figure of a person holding a globe. Now, the globe is garnet, which is my birthstone. I was born in January. And that's also significant. My mother was totally disappointed to have a girl. And the only nice thing she ever said about me, I am serious about that, is, well, you're an Aquarius for the Aquarian Age. And I didn't know what that meant for the longest time, but, you know, after a time, you get to know other kids and you get more information and get your astrology chart read. And my sun, moon, and Mercury are all in Aquarius, conjunct Mars and Capricorn. And my sun and Mercury are 2 minutes apart, which is unbelievable. It's really unbelievable. It means what I'm thinking is what I'm saying. And truth is paramount. And taking care of humanity is, I can't help it. I have to solve problems too. That's what the Capricorn and Mars does. So that's why I'm here. That's why I'm making videos, because I have to solve the world's problems. But it was reinforced, and this is what's significant. It was reinforced by being a military brat. That's what they always called us, military brats. It didn't matter whether it's Army, Air Force, Navy, Coast Guard. It didn't matter. We were all military brats as far as anybody was concerned. And part of it is because, unlike some people, now I suppose having a parent as a police officer would be about the same, except every time my father left, and he had a bag, there was a bag right at the door, because he was supposed to have, I believe it was 24 minutes from the time he got a call that he was needed to be at the plane. And so he always had a bag there ready to go. And the first thing he ever did when he got home was to repack that bag. But my concern as a child was he coming back? I mean, every time he left, was he coming back? Because we knew, well, he was a in-air flight refueler, so every time he connected with another plane, there was a possibility of a problem. And of course, there were always wars. I was born right after World War II, and everybody was always talking about that. And I was born long enough after the Depression, but short enough that all people my parents' age were talking about the Depression. And so there was always this cloud hanging over us, because then we went into the Cold War, and then there was people digging trenches to live in, and oh my God, it was just like, holy crap. So we were tough. And I would guess to say that in the way that children in the Ukraine, I've seen pictures of them playing in bombed out buildings. That's kind of how it was for us. We would play, but we had this cloud hanging over us. And then when Dad would come home, oh my God, you know, every morning, every Saturday morning, you have to polish the shoes. Every Sunday morning, you have to cut Dad's hair. Every Monday morning, you have to iron the 3 creases in the back of his shirts. I mean, I was the only child, so I had to do all of that. Tuesday, you had to clean the house. And every day, you had to wash all the dishes. By the time I was 5 years old, I was doing all the housework. Mother was always in bed. That was her thing. And unless she was up getting a drink, she started out every morning with 12 ounces of alcohol. So she stayed pretty numb and pretty angry. It was no fun when Dad was gone. But at least when Dad was gone, she kind of mellowed a little bit. But when he was home, it was heaven. And when he was gone, it was hell. There was just no question about that. So as I went along, and then I've mentioned this before, I was raped when I was 15, impregnated, sent it away to nursing. I mean, a nursing home, no, a nunnery. But I learned everything about nursing there. I can tell you that. They taught me everything my mother never taught me, cooking and taking care of kids and all that stuff. So I came back. Well, I was there when Rachel Carson's book was published, and I knew my dad was right. Silent Spring, we're killing off the world. And Dad had always been such an advocate for being careful with the environment. He had a organic farm when I was born, and every time we camped with every move, we camped every move, so Dad didn't have to spend the allotment money for hotel rooms. And he always taught me every time we camped, every time we put the tent up, and every place we parked, and when we left, I had to go with him and inspect and make sure that absolutely it never looked like anybody had been here. It was really incredible. I was so into the earth. And now, so you have to put these things together. Okay, you have to recognize that my birth sign was about protecting humanity. And then my father was always about the earth, the earth, the earth, the earth, the earth. And then the year my first child was born was when the book came out. And I was really impressed with that. I remember taking him to the Social Security office and getting my Social Security number and his Social Security number. So there was this big heaviness, like responsibility. And then that followed 112263. That was when Kennedy was killed. And you really have to understand, he was young, and I was young, and all my friends were young, and we just adored him. Of course, later in life, I realized he was a Republican, but it really didn't matter. You know, there he was in the White House. He had 2 kids. He had a beautiful wife whose name was the same as my name. Oh, my gosh. I mean, how could I not notice all of that going on? And I did. I noticed all of it going on. And as a result, by the way, the dog is barking at a vulture. That kind of thing you have to put up with here. Other than that, it's pretty quiet. Anyway, I was sitting in the classroom, and the loudspeaker, I was right next to the loudspeaker for whatever reason. It was hardly ever used, but I was sitting right next to it. And I heard a girl come on, female voice, a student's female voice. It wasn't one of our teachers this time. It was a student's female voice. And she said, "The president has been killed." And I would just chills all over. I mean, there was this emotion in my 17 or 16. I was only 16 at the time. It was just, I was 16. In my body that I couldn't identify. Not only was it sadness, but it was greater than that. And I didn't understand politics, of course. I mean, other than what I learned at school. But I didn't have a grasp. But I did have a grasp on this beautiful family that was taking care of all of us. And having been raised as a military brat, the whole umbrella of the military was my life. I mean, I usually ended up staying on bases. I always had an ID card since I was a little kid. I had to show it to get in and out of base, and in the kids club and everything. You know, the swimming pool, anything I did, I was on base. I was always around other military brats, and it was this incredibly odd emotion, and I'm thinking back that possibly some of it was because I was already a mother, even though my mother had taken my child, and I didn't get my child back till he was about 5.5. But there was still that sense because I had birthed a child. I didn't have the heaviness of having to work to take care of him. At that time, oh gosh, it was just so strange. And so it's made my life one of fighting, just fighting. I call myself a grief warrior because there's this heavy, heavy sadness that I have spent so much of my life trying to convince people that we should do something about taking care of the planet. And at the same time, I feel like I want to scream, but I don't scream. I feel like I have to fight, like I have to solve this problem. And it just, it's so incredibly overwhelming and such a part of, because I wear this, I never take it off because it represents holding the world higher than myself. And that's because I love what Reverend Michael Dowd did. He has a G, and then the 0 is the O for God, is the earth. And that makes sense to me. And I'm so deeply passionate about that. I feel like I've been given this incredibly beautiful planet to live on. And then, as my husband says, because he's also military, we shit in our mess kit. That means we used our food box as a toilet. And that really does say it. I mean, it's not pleasant, but what we've done to this earth isn't pleasant. We've made a mess of things. We've really made a mess of things. And I think back about that day when I sat there and the president was gone, and then I began to understand that I was no longer really just under that umbrella of military. Now there was another world out there that I had to maneuver in some way. I was very sad. I was very, very sad. My dream had always been to be a JAG attorney. I wanted to, because my father was military, and my uncle, who I absolutely adored, was military. And of course, my oldest son, the baby, I didn't know then, but he went into the military, probably because it was such a big part of our lives, that whole concept of being in service. And that's part of what I just do not understand now. I just have no space in my brain for how anybody could be president and only be in service to themselves. I just don't get it. I guess it was like propaganda. I was so indoctrinated with the concept, well, yes, Dad has to leave because he has orders, but he's in service to our country. Yes, and you, as his daughter, have to be the same. And it was that way all the time, and it was that way with all my friends. All of us were in service to our country. That whole sense of being singled out as someone who had this like invisible job that was, we weren't going to get a gold star. We weren't going to earn any money. But it almost made us spiritual. I know that sounds strange, but because one thing about the military is it's very non-secular. However, there was this sense that we were walking this path with wings to give our lives. I mean, not to hesitate to give our lives. And if one of our parents died, or both, because of being in service, that was considered a positive martyrdom. I mean, it was such, it penetrated my being to the point that I felt like, and because my father traveled the whole world. I mean, he actually, in International Geophysical Year, he flew the whole world. The whole world was our responsibility. This globe was our responsibility. And even though I was raised Lutheran, and my secondary faith was Unitarian, I just so fell flat on my face into the whole concept that the earth is my God, that taking care of this big, huge planet was my path. I was supposed to take care of it, and I didn't. I was unsuccessful. So few people have listened to my plea to do just a little bit, so that maybe every hurricane or tornado or earthquake is just a little bit smaller. I mean, if everybody did just a little bit. And so I continue to discuss that. I continue to feel like I can't understand why someone can't look at this beautiful flower right behind me. This beautiful flower. See the flowers? Or all that land back there? And the trees? And the other mountains? How anyone cannot look at all of that and just be in awe. I mean, if I honestly believe that if an angel appeared in front of me, my awe would not be any greater than opening the door and looking at the mountains in the morning. It takes my breath away. And some of these sunsets, I mean, I always see the dawn. I always look at the dawn because I'm really a morning person. I'm a farmer all the way through. So I'm always so impressed with the dawn. But some of the sunsets, the colors, oh man, the colors are just amazing. And I'm just so taken by the artist we call the sun, by the artist we call Pachamama. Pachamama, that's what the people hear you say, Pachamama. Mother Earth is Pachamama. And she is such an artist. Her work is so beautiful, and I love seeing it. And I can't understand it when I don't see the park filled with people. And yeah, I spend a lot of time in front of the computer, looking out the window at the mountains, looking out the open door at the mountains, because we don't close our doors during the day. Both doors are, unless it's pouring rain or there's a huge windstorm, the front and back doors are open. They're always open. Dust, dirt, you betcha, baby. And it's just fine. Because I'm so grateful, so incredibly grateful for the clean air. I mean, I have to breathe frequently. That's just the way I'm put together, and so are you. And here the air is just, it's just so clean. There are some nights I look up and I just feel like the stars as close to me as that rooftop. It's so clean and clear. And the water here comes from the mountain. I just have a filter on it. There's no chemicals going through it. It's just this beautiful, tastes great. It's got lots of minerals in it because it flows over the rocks and picks up a little of the minerals as it falls. And I just feel so blessed to be able to put that in my body and in the food I prepare. I really love to cook. I just adore it. The worst thing about getting old is I can't stand up and cook for hours like I used to. I have to sit down in my little walker from time to time, but I still love to cook. And I love looking at this beautiful organic food that either I raise or a man I think it's about a half a mile away, raises Franco. It's just, I can't imagine how anyone could look at his gorgeous strawberries or unbelievable curly lettuce or his amazing broccoli and compare that to a McDonald's hamburger. But then again, I stopped eating meat in 1974. I was spending a lot of time in a Buddhist monastery at the time, and I told the Roshi that I wasn't going to eat flesh anymore. And I have stayed with that except for fish. Once after we moved here, 2 years after we moved here, I got to thinking about the fact that we're below the equator and the fish is a lot cleaner. So I started eating some fish. I also feel a strong responsibility to take care of my husband. Statistics said he'd be gone by 58 after 4 years exposure to Agent Orange, but he's still alive. He's 85. And he doesn't have anybody else take care of him. Nobody else will put up with him. Oh God, he's got PTSD. You know, it's tough. He's got 17 diseases altogether. And that's part of what I think about. You know, I think about, my God, I'm staying alive to take care of this man because he's a veteran. It's true. Not that I don't love him. I love him to death. I'm just crazy about him. But he's a veteran. And that's how I put up with his PTSD. Because Dad came back from Korea with PTSD. My uncle came back from Vietnam with PTSD, the same as my husband. It's just part of that whole sense that I was honored to be a part of being in service to my country. And how do I feel now? Well, I don't feel like I've abandoned my country, because I was always in league with the world. I mean, my father always gave me the impression, no matter, he went all over the world all the time. And once he completely circulated the world. And my husband has only missed a few miles of circulating the world. So the world I'm responsible for. I mean, that's how the propaganda goes into a kid. At least that's the way I got it. Maybe they do it differently now. I don't know. A lot of things are different in the military now. But that's how I felt about it. I felt like I was being told that the world and all its people, I mean, I'm colorblind. I'm absolutely colorblind. People are people are people are people. No matter how they look, what color they are, or how their eyes are shaped, or their mouths are shaped, or what hair they've got, or what clothing they're wearing, or what food they eat, or what faith they follow. That doesn't make any, what size they are, whether they're ability or disabilities, or it just isn't part of it. Never has been. Never has been. They're breathing. It's the way it is. Same way with animals. I'm a sucker for dogs, but I also love cats and ferrets and snakes. We've had a lot of snakes, and my oldest one really loves snakes. So we had a lot of snakes. Gerbils. I used to keep a gecko on my windowsill all the time when I was a kid. I've said before that my bedroom had so many insect displays on it when I was 12 that the movers wanted to know what to do with the stuff in the boys' room. And it was really me. I was gung-ho in Girl Scouts over collecting insects and looking at all of them. It was so fascinating. It's just absolutely fascinating. Insects and birds and frogs, and I always had turtles, and I always had parakeets or parrots, but I was big on turtles. Oh gosh, I just loved reptiles. I had iguanas. Yeah, you name it. I've taken it home. Yeah, my mother was always afraid when I'd walk in, and she'd get all up. Just keep it in your room. Keep it away from me. It was always a story. Wouldn't let me have a dog or a cat after we lived in Riverside, California. I had a dog, got pregnant, and somehow that was my fault. I really don't understand how that could be my fault when I was a little kid, but I was in kindergarten. Yeah, but it was my fault. The dog got pregnant. Anyway, I'm 79. And I'm afraid you're stuck. If you see my face and you push on the button, you're going to hear me probably spouting that we need to take care of the earth. And I will continue to do that until I can't breathe, because it's so important to me that we take care of the earth. There's no planet B. This is it, guys, gals, moms, dads, grandparents, uncles, aunts. This is it. This is the only one we got. Got a question for me? Any question in the world? Just answer right down there. And while you're down there, take a look at our nonprofit. We've been running it for 34 years. You can see some of the things we've done. You might take a peek to both Jolene, who's over 75, and myself have been artists making things to remind people to take care of the earth. Reminding people how beautiful it is. Reminding people how it's not going to be sustainable if we don't take care of it. And if sustainable means air, water, shelter, food, and the ability to reproduce. It'll all be gone if we don't take care of it. Thank you.